Hello, and welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast. I'm Stephanie May Potter, and I'm here with my co-host, Marnie Dotches-Marmette.
We created the Art of Living Well podcast to empower you to live your happiest, healthiest, and most authentic life. Each week, we will bring you inspiring and motivating conversations covering health and wellness topics, including fitness, mindset, food, travel, product reviews, and strategies from a variety of experts, including our own bank of knowledge.
We are excited to educate, motivate, and inspire you to change the way you perceive health and discover your art of living well. Get ready to feel inspired.
Stephanie and I had such an amazing experience last week. We went to Healing Elements Yoga and Massage Studio in St. Anthony Park, which is really on the cusp of St. Paul and Minneapolis. And we went there and we took just a wonderful yoga class. We each had our, own massages. I had like an integrated massage, which I've never had before. And the therapist was so wonderful. What did you have?
I had a deep tissue and I had so much inflammation going on in my body. It was wonderful, wonderful. Probably one of the best massages I've had. It's such a welcoming community too, Marnie. Like we sat before our massage and yoga class and we had tea. They have like a little, tea coffee shop area and retail space.
Which had the cutest little things. Like I could just spend time kind of browsing around in there.
Yes.
And it's such an authentic place. Like you really could feel that welcoming community and
just inclusiveness and connectedness, really.
And they have so many different services they offer. They have all different kinds of yoga classes, meditation classes, massage therapy. They're doing workshops and special events.
And you can actually sign up to have like a massage membership. So if you are someone that...
Which is so cool.
Yes. So Healing Elements has an amazing offer for all of our listeners. First-time customers can receive a 1 week of unlimited yoga classes for free and $15 off a massage treatment. Head on over to our show notes and you'll get the promo code. You can either book online or you can call the studio.
I cannot wait to go back.
Either can I. Hello and welcome to episode number 25 of the Art of Living Well podcast. You are going to be so inspired by today's conversation with Anna Needham. Anna is a business owner of Tao Natural Foods in Minneapolis, which is an organic cafe and natural wellness shop called Tao Herbery. Anna is an acupuncturist and also a mother of 3, and her niche is providing resources for our community so that people may achieve their health goals naturally and in harmony with nature. She believes that what we eat dramatically influences both the health of our body and the health of our planet. And she's going to share all of her wisdom and knowledge and experience and tips with you today. Anna understands that a state of imbalance may be brought back to a state of balance through cleansing toxins, eating organically grown foods, and consuming herbal medicines that deliver needed nutrients. Health achieved while in harmony with nature. This is her motto. Anna shares with us how food is medicine and the direct effect that it has on our health and our energy, which is particularly important if you're listening to this during the corona pandemic and stay at home. We talk about different natural and herbal remedies that you can do, things that you have in your kitchen to help prevent the flu and reduce symptoms. And really, it gets back to listening to your body and the art of daily rituals and caring for yourself. Marnie and I both love Tao Natural Foods. And if you live in the Twin Cities, we highly recommend making a trip and checking it out. If it's during the current Corona stay-at-home mandate, you can call and pick up your food or have it delivered, because really right now what we all need more of is nourishing, grounding, and healing food, and that's exactly what you're going to get at Tao Natural Foods. This episode is sure to inspire you to take your health into your own hands. So with that, let's get started with our conversation with Anna Needham.
Anna, thank you so much for coming on our show today. We're so excited to have you. Both Stephanie and I have been going to your organic cafe for a number of years now. And I remember being so excited when I found your gem of a place many years ago. And I started meeting people when I was in yoga training and just coming there for various lunch meetings. I love that I always meet such interesting people there. I don't know if it's because the tables are kind of closer together, but I feel like every
Yeah.
time I go there, I meet someone interesting. And I love that about the place. And I also think it's so cool that you have the herbery and the wellness shop. And I can really just come in there and get lost in your store for a while. So it's really a little happy place for me. And I think Stephanie feels the same. Anyway, so we're really excited to have you, and we would love to hear a little bit about your background. And I'm not sure if you got started in acupuncture or if you got started in, Tao Natural Foods, or kind of what came first. We're really curious about how that all happened. And then
Yeah.
I think I remember that the cafe's been around since like maybe 1968.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So
That's right.
so
Yes.
we would love to hear about that journey.
Yes. Oh God. Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be a part of your podcast. I just, I'm thrilled to be here. So thank you for having me. Um, God, so Tao is fascinating business to be taken care of. It's been around since 1968. So you're right. And it was started by a fellow named Rob Kagan, and he came from the mountains of California off of a commune, came to Minneapolis, and opened Tao Natural Foods with a philosophy of food is medicine, and what you eat has a direct effect on your health and your energy. And that's very much a philosophy that we have today, that we hold true to that philosophy. My journey to Tao is also just a fascinating one. I started working at Tao in 1999. I was kind of transitioning out of a career that I was in. I was only 23, so it's hard. I can hardly call it a career. I was just a kid. I got my degree in music engineering, and I was working at a recording studio, a famous recording studio in the mid 90s, and was really not finding much joy in that at that point, and started working at Tao. And that was like coming home. It was like, it just resonated with me being here in this very healing space. I grew up in the country on a little hobby farm, large family. We had a large garden. My parents were very holistic in the way that they fed us. They were really nutrition conscious. And so coming into Tao was very familiar to me, this landscape. And so I was working here and met a woman who's just this beam of light. Her name, I don't know if I should say her name, but she was this customer of ours. And she was an intuitive healer. And at the time, I was dating somebody who had pretty severe depression, clinical depression, and Western medicine wasn't helping him. And I was wanting to help him as much as I could. We didn't really know how to navigate that. And called this customer of ours. I had her number. I can't recall why I did, but I did, luckily. And she saw him, and then she shared with me that he is severely imbalanced and he needs to begin getting acupuncture. And I was like, acupuncture? What, isn't that, I didn't know anything about it. It just seemed something that was pretty untouchable. And so began my journey in learning about Chinese medicine and the amazing art of how the body is viewed and how disease is viewed and how you come back to a place of balance, and how all the organ systems work in tandem with one another. It's a series of checks and balances that at the very root of it is steeped in the philosophy of yin and yang, that every meridian carries these energies, that they are intrinsically connected, and without one there couldn't be the other. And so our bodies. This energy is continually flowing through our bodies. It's flowing through the earth around us. And it's just the foundational rule of life on earth, the balance of yin and yang. And so I started my journey of learning about Chinese medicine, purchased a book, and then began going to school shortly after that point. And 4 years later, I graduated with a master's in Chinese medicine and started my journey of being an acupuncturist and a healer. And that was 15 years ago I graduated.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you practice acupuncture at Tao at that time, or was it just the cafe?
So nope. So while I just graduated school in 2000, in late 2004, and I started practicing at a friend's clinic for 1 year. And then in 2006, so it was the end of 2004. So at the end of 2005, beginning of 2006, I purchased Tao Natural Foods with my sister. So my sister and I co-own it together, although she lives in Seattle and she's just very, hands off with the business. So yeah, I took it over in 2006 and then started practicing here at that point. Put the little healing room in upstairs in what used to be our herb loft.
I love that space.
Yes, I know that space has such a healing energy. It just has a history.
I haven't been there. I have to go check that out upstairs.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've had acupuncture with Anna, and I need to do it. It's one of those self-care treatments, modalities mm-hmm. that I need to do more frequently. So
all of us.
As soon as this, stay-at-home ban, while we're recording this, it's during the stay-at-home ban, it's lifted, I will be back to see you. But it's a wonderful space.
Do you use the little needles?
Like thin needles or short needles? So I use a very thin needle. I'm not a fan of creating a lot of pain with the treatment. So I use very thin needles. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they're very effective.
But I would love to come try
it. Well, you should come in. I mean, absolutely. It's it doesn't hurt. And have you had acupuncture before?
I've had it 2 times. One time was terrible. They did not use little needles.
Oh yeah.
And the other time was better, but I was still pretty nervous about it. I feel like, and now it's been probably 9 months since I tried it, so I'd like to try it again.
Oh yeah, well come in, pop by. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see you. And I mean, my sessions are always very gentle. Like I'm not into creating pain. This is a healing session. Right. And so I want to create as much peace for you through the whole process. And I use all of the healing modalities that go along with Chinese medicine. So I oftentimes am doing moxibustion, which is a form of burning an herb called mugwort to infuse yang qi into a meridian. So again, this is just the balance of yin and yang within each meridian. And so if a meridian is deficient in yang qi, it's important to infuse that with heat. And so moxibustion is a form that I would do that, or that we are taught to do that with. And then I also do cupping quite frequently. So cupping is the act of adhering little glass cups to the body, and that helps to draw many things. It helps to move stagnated qi and blood. It helps to remove invasive wind. So it has lots of different functions. So it's fun. It's a very thorough treatment.
I've never tried that either. I'd love to come in.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Pop in.
Cupping is amazing.
What does Tao mean?
So Taoism is a philosophy, ancient Chinese philosophy that the story goes, a old wise man by the name of Lao Tzu wrote the book of the book called the I Ching, and it's a book on the way of life. So it means life in balance with nature, basically. And so the word Tao itself eludes it's elusive to even explanation, because the Tao is always ever changing, and to explain it, you can't ever really explain it, because the very nature of it is always shifting. The Tao is everywhere, but in essence, it's the art of living in balance with nature.
Oh, I
You
love
can't
that.
force nature. You need to allow it to be, kind of thing. So it's very much our philosophy here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing how the name fits your philosophy so perfectly.
Yes,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Uh,
it's a beautiful thing. And the thing about Tao that I also love is that it's very much this little mystical, space that's kind of tucked off of the street, and people will live half a block from Tao for 5 years and go,
Hmm.
I never knew it was there. And my response is always that the Tao appears when you're ready to see it. Like it appears out of the mist when you're ready to see it. And so it's very much, when the student is ready, the teacher appears kind of
Yes.
philosophy.
oh,
Yeah.
I love that. And it's funny because someone that I used to see for acupuncture quite frequently, who's
Yeah.
not far from Tao, is the one that
Yeah.
told me. And it was when I
Uh-huh.
was going through all sorts of, transformation and doing my own self-discovery with the yin and yang and the imbalances and in my body and
Mhm.
everything. And then it appeared, I remember going for the first time, and it was like, I sat outside and like had something that I would never have normally had, like bone broth to drink or something. And then I ordered
Mhm.
food, and it was just like the most wonderful day. And it was by myself the
Yeah,
first time I
perfect.
went. And I love meeting people, like Marnie said also, but my first experience was, yeah, it was lovely. It was wonderful. So
Oh, awesome.
yes.
Perfect.
I'm just curious, not diving a little back into how you started on your journey with learning more about Chinese medicine and acupuncture. You said you were, your boyfriend at the time, and I know you're married now.
Yeah, different person.
Had,
Yep.
yeah, a different person. Had some depression. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit how you've seen, maybe not only with him but others, acupuncture and Chinese medicine help a little bit, kind of on the
Yeah.
depression or mental health side of things.
And it just helps with everything. So it's the art of balancing the body. That's just what this medicine is based in. And so people have depression for all different reasons. And so it can be, fundamentally from Chinese viewpoint, it has to do with the liver meridian and an imbalance that happens in the liver meridian, or the liver organ system, and that becomes stuck or stagnated qi. And so anytime somebody has depression, it's because their qi isn't moving. And qi cannot, qi can become stagnated from physically or emotionally. So your qi can get stuck either way by both means. And so in Chinese medicine, absolutely. We begin the beauty of acupuncture is it begins to open up the flow of qi in the body. And when that qi begins to flow, like your brain, like your thoughts begin to flow, your spirit begins to flow, the blood is flowing, energy is flowing. And whenever there's depression, it's quite literally depression of your qi. And so you need to get that moving. So there's that. And then
Which I think
also
is so
once,
interesting. I just want to interrupt you for a second because when I
yeah.
did go through yoga teacher training, they talk about the chi. And
Mhm.
I feel like the physical practice of yoga must help that also, where you're getting that
Absolutely.
chi flowing through the body.
Yes,
So uh,
absolutely.
it's interesting to hear you talk about that as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's what the medicine is based in. It's just the balancing of the yin and yang, and all of the diseases that then fall under that, which is every disease. So there's the physical act of moving the chi, but there's also the emotional act, the emotional stagnation that can happen, the spiritual stagnation that can lead to depression. And so often, if somebody comes in to see me, we dive a little bit into there's something in their life that they're not tending to, that their soul wants it to be tended to. So either there's just something in their life that they need to be doing that they're not. So, and for everybody, that's it's a very personal thing, and so that's for them. That's their journey. Like, what is it in my life I need to be doing that I'm not? Either I believe I can't, or that it's outside of the realm of possibility, or whatever it might be. They have to step into honoring what that calling is for them. So that's very much a part of moving that liver chi.
That's also fascinating to me. So I know your motto is for people to take their health into their own hands.
Yes.
How do you advise people to do this, or what maybe the first steps that you recommend?
Um, deeply listening to your intrinsic knowledge and truth. We are taught to not do that. We are taught to, before you do anything, you go talk to somebody else about that. You don't know anything about your health. How dare you take your health into your, I mean, that has been really drilled into our society, I feel. And it's a philosophy I deeply just disagree with. I think it is so important that we teach people to listen deeply to their bodies and act when their bodies are giving them the cue and the signals to act. And that could be like in this current pandemic, it's critical that people act immediately at first inkling when they start to feel sick. When you begin to feel that tickle in your throat, when you have that slight headache, you do not ignore that. You do not take aspirin and drink a Diet Coke and then go, watch TV. Because what happens is, a day and a half later, you are now in full fever because you ignored the signal because you just were taught to take an aspirin. And that's just going to suppress, ultimately, your immune system and suppress, what your body is telling you. And then, you're shutting off the alarm, essentially, but the fire is still going. So I think it's critical that people learn to deeply trust every instinct that their body is telling them. Just let's say you're taking a supplement or medication or eating a food, and you deeply that it just in your gut that it's not right for you. Trust that, question it. Begin the process of really honoring your deeper wisdoms. I mean, especially in these times, I think when we pull through this, I hope that a lot of people come out awakened to listening to their bodies, listening to the subtleties of what it's saying to them.
Well, and I was just going to say, I know so many people that just run right to the Tylenol, the Advil, they have a headache, they have a sinus infection, they go get a prescription, like whatever it is, and trying to retrain people to listen to, their inner gut or whatever you want to call it, their inner truth.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult when they've, lived their entire lives running to prescription medications or the Tylenols and the Advils and the Aleve. And, any advice that you would have to kind of, I think when you tell someone to just tune into themselves, they're like, well, what does that look like? What does that mean? Like, how do you do that?
I would love to dive into that. And that's a really great question because it is, that's the abyss, I guess saying something like that. How does anybody know what that means? But it means this for me. It means beginning to retrain your body, your instincts to grab aspirin, to instead of going to over-the-counter drug, learning the steps on what it is to take that's going to heal your body, and everybody's different. And so let's say, for instance, you have a slight headache. That can mean several things. It can mean one, dehydration. It can mean two, the start of an illness of some kind, like your body now is under attack by some bug or pathogen, right? And then oftentimes, and then from there you can determine it. So it's understanding the source of the pain, like beginning to dive in and question what that pain is from. So if you have a slight headache beginning or a reduction in your energy, you can go through like, oh, I need to drink. Have I had enough water in the last day? Have I had enough water today or yesterday? And then you'll go, oh God, I haven't. I need to drink a lot more water. And from that, you'll start to feel much better. Or if you begin to get a headache and you're like, I've had plenty of water, it feels like I'm starting to get sick. And the other indications of that would be the slight tickle in your throat, the letdown in your energy, the tight, stiff neck, the easily chilled. These are all very clear indications that your immune system is under attack. And to begin immediately with a protocol of taking care of your immune system. So what does that look like? For me, there's a homeopathic formula that I love so much. It's called Silica Traynham. It's from a company called Boron. It's a French homeopathic company. And Silica Traynham is a flu remedy. And it's a flu remedy you take right at the first inkling of illness. and it just knocks it out out of the park. It just is something that works so effectively well when you take it when you begin to feel sick. So I usually actually just travel with that. So that's like a herb, or it's a homeopathic formula you can take.
And where can people get that? Just for our listeners, I'm thinking, who probably would be very interested in maybe purchasing this.
Yes, and this is just one of many, many things to do. So at Tao, definitely here. So in our herbal shop, you can pick up anything I talk about today.
Okay, great.
And you can, and any co-op would have these things as well. So these are going to be your resources for your medicine. Like your journey begins with just your first step. And, and I encourage everybody to begin that first step of noticing the indications their body is giving them, and then learning what they need to take with each one of those indications. And so, since illness is such a hot topic, I'll dive a little deeper into that. So if you feel a flu coming on or illness, and that's just that first indication, is that letdown in your energy, tickle in your throat, slight headache, I begin straight away with taking or drinking a very garlicky and sauteed shallot onion and garlic broth. And I make it spicy with some cayenne pepper. And broth is so deeply healing and supportive of your immune system. The important thing is to begin the process of sweating. Like you want to get your body temperature up. You want to, in Chinese medicine, would be supporting what's known as your Wei Qi. And your Wei Qi, that's WEI, is your defensive qi. And it helps to support that. So you want to begin the process of sweating. So if somebody's starting to feel sick, you begin taking care of yourself right then. You don't wait a day and a half until you know for sure. You begin when you just get that first inkling. And like I said, the biggest issue here that I see with people is they have the instinct, they take an aspirin, and then they allow that pathogen to proliferate. They allow it to get much deeper. And then at that point, they're in full fever and they're in cough. But you can really stop it. You can halt it right at the beginning if you take action right at the get-go. And so that's the key. Like, don't let things get to a deeper state. Get it right at that surface level.
This is so relevant to what's going on right now, because I think there's obviously were a lot of people that probably had a lot of the early symptoms that you talked about, and kept going to work because we're trained. You have to go to work. You have to go to work. You have to be productive. Totally. And instead of taking the time, listening to your body, doing some of these things that you mentioned, and I'll obviously keep continuing. I just think it's so relevant right now.
Absolutely.
And it's super interesting what you said about keeping the body temperature up, because I've been reading a lot about, with COVID-19 and fevers, and I've been reading a lot of articles about how you actually want your body to have that fever, because that's, if you're going to have a fever, you don't want to suppress it, because that's how your body's fighting the illness. I don't know if you agree with this, but
totally,
as long as you don't let that fever get so incredibly high where it's like going to damage your, brain function or anything like that, but where you want to actually wrap a scarf around you and just keep that heat in your body so that you're sweating it out. I've been reading a lot about that.
Key. And also through this, hydration is huge. Hydration will kill you faster than, or dehydration will kill you faster than anything else. So through all of this, if we can teach people one thing, it's drink enough fluids, water. So it's critical for your immune system to have proper hydration. So yes, you're absolutely right. Your body is deeply intelligent. You can't trying to suppress your body's natural instinct and response to me just doesn't make sense. So yes, if your body wants to have a fever, by all means support it, help it along. Don't eat some pizza and then, or whatever it might be. Like, it's very important that when your immune system is on go, it's ready, it's fighting, that you give it exactly what it needs so it can function as sveltely as it can possibly do. It needs to be very agile at that point. And so to me, what that means, what I've learned is very light food, like brothy soups, lots of fluids, lots of herbal tea. One thing I'll talk about here today is my love of herbs and herbal tea. And so it's supporting your body. So, drinking rosemary tea with a little honey in it, nothing's more divine. Just there's all kinds of teas you can be drinking. You also want to keep your mucus thin. So nothing cloying. Eating a diet that's rich in dairy or has dairy in it at all is something just totally contraindicated if you're sick. Like no milk, no cheese, no yogurt, clear, brothy, easy to digest soups that are going to help you sweat, things that are rich in ginger and garlic and onion. I mean, garlic and onion, antibacterial, antiviral, incredibly immune supporting. Drink a lot of broth that has fresh garlic, powdered garlic. Powdered garlic and pre-cut garlic will not do. It needs to be fresh.
So it's interesting. I do not like garlic. Like a little bit in something is okay, but like I do not react well to garlic.
Okay, and there's some people that don't. Yeah. So you need to know.
But it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Okay. And so you would just need. So how are onions for you?
Onions and ginger are great.
Perfect. So those are wonderful things. So you're going to saute up a lot of shallot. So I love shallots, and I love those little onions because they have they're much more potent than larger onions. And so go to the and buy your root vegetables organically. This is just so deeply important. Organic foods on many, many, many levels are just, I can't, I mean, clearly it's a philosophy I have. I run an organic cafe, but it's just, you do not want to be consuming foods that are just doused in chemicals. Those chemicals are toxic to your body and they're toxic to the planet. And so it's just, you can't wash those off. I mean, anything you put on a plant, it's part of that plant. So it's a big mistake. It's misinformation for people to think that you can simply wash a sprayed chemical off of something. You cannot. It's now infused into that plant or that food. So anyway, off track. That's a little tangent. Really consuming organically grown vegetables, root vegetables, very important because they're in the ground. So get yourself some shallots, some ginger. So do you know how to so ginger is very easy. You get like a little thumb of ginger and you peel that ginger with the side of a spoon.
Yep.
To peel the skin off, and you grate that into your soup. Yep. And ginger is powerful at boosting your immune system too. And throw in some turmeric, some either fresh turmeric or some powdered turmeric is fine in this soup. And drink a lot of broth. In terms of herbs, a million herbs. You could probably pretty much take any herb to really help your immune system. Herbs are so powerful, but some herbs that are wonderful for boosting immunity is Isades root, echinacea root, of course, echinacea flower. Herbs that thin blood. One herb is called Elecampane, Elecampane. Thins mucus. This is very critical. If you're starting to get sick, you need to be thinning mucus secretions. That really supports your immune system. And, lots of herbal teas. There's great herbal teas out there that are rich in herbs that support immunity. So, just be drinking that now. Just drink it all the time. I mean, just really keep your body well supported and yeah.
Stephanie and I both drink tons and tons of herbal tea. What are your favorite recommendations on herbal teas?
Well,
just across the board. It doesn't have to be immunity boosting.
Yeah, well, currently we drink a lot of tea too, and I'm a huge fan. So, a couple things. It depends on the time of day. Depends on the time of year. But so right now in the spring is a great time to do drinking detoxing herbs that support liver function. The spring is considered the liver time of year, so this is a great time to be drinking herbs like dandelion, blue perum. Anything that gets your chi flowing, licorice root, things like this, really fabulous. So you can find a detox tea, of course, traditional medicinal and yogi teas. I mean, they have great detox teas. I drink a lot of, I have a tea at home. It's a holy basil and turmeric tea. Holy basil is an herb that's really like calming. It's considered like it's just a calming, centering herb, and so I have that, a cup of that every night. And it's considered just, I absolutely love basil. Who doesn't? But this is considered like a sacred herb. So
Well, and you
it's
have a lot of
really
great
delicious.
teas, yeah, in your shop
We have a we have a wall of herbs. Yeah.
that you can buy, but you always have a nice sample out. I remember I actually took my mom to your
Uh-huh.
shop when she was visiting over
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
and we had this wonderful meal, and I got her to eat something that she would never have ordered on her own.
Yep.
And then we sat and drank all this tea, and it was so good. We each bought some. I can't remember now what it was because I've gone through it, but it was
Yeah, it was
just
yeah,
delicious.
we've been doing a lot of sampling of a local company. Um, their name is Rooted. Oh, God, is that their name? Why can't I think of it? I gotta go look at it.
I have
The
some. I
most
know what you're talking
gorgeous,
about.
the most gorgeous packaging. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on their name right now. But anyway, yes, so Rooted Tea. Oh, beautiful blend. And there's another company called Sacred Blossom, another local company, where they have their own farms. They grow their own herbs. They hand harvest the herbs. And it is
Wow.
just a divine blend of 3 different teas that they make. One is for rest and sleeping, one is for energy, and one is just calming. So that's from Sacred Blossom. It's fragrant and delicious, organic. You feel the energy of the earth when you drink that tea.
Yeah. So how did
So
you learn so much about herbs? Because it can be a little overwhelming the first time for people listeners right now who, maybe they drink like peppermint tea or green tea,
Look
but
right. Perfect.
so it's like where to start, but how did you, I'm just curious how you got into
Tea.
herbs.
Well, we're
Yeah, just
working at Tao Foods really
yeah.
made all the difference for me. Like, so being infused, being around, immersed in the herbs, has really was where my journey began. And then, of course, being in school, it was a 4-year program, so it was half of that was learning about Chinese herbs and Chinese medicine, which is really herbs that's the medicine. Herbal medicine. I mean, they didn't use pharmaceuticals; they used herbal medicine to treat the body, and their deep understanding of the organ systems and how to support the organ systems, and when one organ breaks down, how that cascade effect of breaking down all the other organ systems happens, and where how herbs can help to support along the way. If something's excessive, you clear that excess and then you heal the deficiency, or, vice versa. If there's deficiency, that we need to tend to first, there's herbs that you begin taking that help to deeply nourish the organ systems that need to be strengthened in order to deal with excess kind of thing. So without getting too much into the confusing sounds of Chinese medicine, it is all based, in the way that you truly heal a deficiency or an excess in the body would be through herbal medicine. So I learned a lot in school, and then of course just being here. But there's I have to just say, endless resources on really beginning to learn about it. And there's no right or wrong answer with herbal medicine. You come in and you listen to your intuition. I mean, if you walk in and you see an herb that pops out to you, no, pay attention to that. Like, pay attention to what you are noticing, because those are your messages. That's it's very important for people to begin to trust all of those nuances in their life.
so
Yes.
if you let's say I wanted to, dive deeper into herbal medicine because I'm fascinated by it. Do you
Yes.
have any book recommendations for kind of like an entree into this topic that you're like, oh my God, this book is amazing. Check this book out.
Well, there's so many different books that would appeal to different people, so it's hard for me to say. So I love culinary, like I love cookbooks that dive into just like making a syrup or making an herb and honey infusion. God, there's just so many great books out there. So there's one called The Herbal Kitchen that I absolutely love. Do I have one specific that I use all the time? No, I reference many different books, and I'm sorry, I don't have a straight answer for you, because I just feel like it's deeply intuitive for somebody.
Yeah.
There's so many different styles of learning herbs. There's people that just have, there's books that are just straight like a Materia Medica style book where it's like, here's the alphabetical order of the herbs. I mean, there's one called Back to Eden, which is the classic. Back to Eden is like, it's almost like a dictionary of herbs, right? You open it up, and for some people that's too boring. That doesn't speak to them, so they wouldn't.
I don't think that would speak to me.
Yeah,
yeah, right. And so I mean, many people that wouldn't. And so there's other books where they have beautiful pictures. There's a book that I have here in my office that's called, oh my gosh, I'll show you guys, The Kids Herb Book by Leslie Tierra.
That sounds like a great book.
I give it to every mother. You know, if I have a gift for an
kid's
expecting
herb book,
you guys, it is the cutest book. So it's all these books about, you know, so I just opened up one page and it's herbal oils and it's time for a massage and making a vapor rub and mullein oil, the healing of mullein oil for earaches and mullein is a lung tonic herb. Right now I'm drinking mullein tea because it's so wonderful for lung health. So anyway, so the kids' herb book, I just love it so much. So
that's a great resource. We'll link that up.
Yeah, there's so many great books out there, but so I don't know, just begin, walk into a bookshop or go online and go, oh God, that book looks great, and begin your journey. And, you know, pop in here and pick up an ounce of an herb. So we have a big herb loft of bulk herbs, and it's a wall. We call it our medicine wall. It's the, you know, nature's pharmacy. And you pop in and you can grab an ounce of this herb and an ounce of that herb, and you throw it in a bag and you come and pay for it. And you begin your journey of making your own tea. And you begin your journey of making like a tea for calming or a tea for energy. Or you grab some roots that help support immunity and you throw those roots into your stock that you're making. Like, make your own stock. You know, you buy a rotisserie chicken, make sure it's organic, and you take those bones, you throw it in a pot, you add your water, and you throw in your roots. You throw in Cordyceps, you throw in astragalus root, you throw in these things that are going to bolster your immune system, and that fortifies your soup. I mean, there's just endless possibilities of things you can do to support your body and your family's bodies, and they'll never even know they're getting herbs, you know? Yeah. And spices. I can't say enough about spices. Spices are truly healers. Add a lot of spices to your food. You're making some marinara. Make sure you add a lot of oregano and a lot of thyme and a lot of garlic and a lot of onion, right?
That's me. I'm always
Yes.
You can't overspice.
Yeah.
And it is such a benefit to your body to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right now so many people are at home more and they're obviously cooking. And this is the time to start doing some experimentation and make the broth that maybe seemed intimidating to make, the bone broth. And experiment with herbs. So I love this.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked a little bit about the cafe, but I'd love to dive a little bit more, like talk about the menu. You already mentioned, obviously it's an organic cafe and some of the elements that go into it and the spices that you use. Because Marnie and I have our favorite bowls, but I will say out there, I mean, I've taken my kids and first they were a little, skeptical, and then they sat there, they loved it. They devoured everything. So just, for the listener who hasn't been, or maybe they're not even in Minneapolis, maybe just take us on a little journey of what your cafe entails.
Yeah. So we consider our food to be medicine food. We like to tout that, like our food's very healing. So we have a pretty simple menu. We have breakfast. We're open from 8 a.m. until 8 o'clock at night. Typically right now during the pandemic, we are just open shorter hours. But our breakfast menu, we have something called the Forager, which is just this divine little breakfast of sauteed kale with sauteed shiitake, sauteed mushroom, caramelized mushroom, and poached eggs. And so just like these greens I love shiitake, I love mushrooms, they're very healing. So it's a really simple little number. Then in our a great breakfast menu, and then we have our lunch, which is kind of where we're known more for our lunch or our main menu. So we have healing bowls, and where most people order bowls. We have a couple of sandwiches, like a tempeh Reuben and a turkey Reuben. We make our own sauerkraut here and our own kimchi, so it's very healing, and brimming with all that life that our body needs. And our bowls. So we have a bowl that's called our Tao bowl, which is like the classic hippie bowl, and
it's my favorite, actually.
Yes,
mine too.
Mine too. Because your body knows, like, oh God,
I love that bowl.
Love it.
It's so nourishing. And the Tao bowl is just ginger steamed vegetables that are steamed with fresh ginger root, brown organic. It's all organic. Brown rice, black beans, avocado, sauerkraut, and then it's topped with tamari and toasted sesame oil, and it's just like one of the best combinations. So that's like it's like our flagship meal we've had here forever, and it's the meal that all kids love it. It's an odd thing that kids, if you want to get your kids to eat vegetables, give them a Tao bowl, and they devour it. It's odd. You wouldn't think so. It's counterintuitive, but they do. And then then we have like a salad, like one of our most popular salads called our doozy salad, and that's just a bed of greens with brown rice and black beans and hummus and avocado and sprouts and our house goddess dressing. It's just this really healing, filling, yet light salad. So it's very popular. It has onions on it as well. And we just have a whole slew of bowls that are very nourishing. And then we also have juices and smoothies. So we make fresh juices and smoothies here. And they're fun. They're infused with herbs. They're infused with these superfoods. And then we also make, we have this whole section called our potions. And our potions are these herbal blends that we make here in house, and you can buy them as well online if you're interested. So we have one called the Moon, and it's a kava and spice potion that's infused, with. So kava is a very calming herb. It's a herb that when you take it, you instantly are chilled out. It's almost like having a beer or a glass of wine. It works immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's very calming. So that's and we also make our own nut milks here. So we make our own cashew date milk and our own coconut date milk. So they're very fresh and delicious and nutrient dense as well. So we have then we have another one called our Bliss, which is it's almost like a hot cocoa, but it has 17 different herbs in it plus cacao. So it just has this depth of flavor and this depth of healing to it. It really is divine.
It sounds divine. I've never had that.
No, but I'm hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet, and all these
I haven't
junk of
either.
food is making me really.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
that's okay.
Yes. Well, now you'll crave hopefully good healing foods, so you can
absolutely
just eat those. Yes.
And rumor has it that there's an expansion in the works. I don't know if I should mention that.
Yes.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Is that not true?
That is not. Yeah, that is not something that's hidden. And in fact, in our latest newsletter, the Tao Journal, we call it, and it's it's a journal that comes out once a week, once a month, that just talks about whatever I actually feel like talking about. But a couple of months ago, I came out with the fact that we are intending on expanding Tao. So we are in fact in the active process of looking at a new building. We're still pulling together all of our investors and, all the magic that makes something like this happen. But we're looking to move into a larger location and expand all of our services. And we're so excited about what this looks like for us. So we would be able to really dive deeper into being a resource for our community's health needs. So it will have everything that it has now, which is a quaint, sweet cafe, and our herbal shop will turn more into an herbal pharmacy. So it'll still very much be, like health and beauty products, teas, books, all the things that we have here in herbs. But now it will also become an herbal dispensary for our natural clinic that we'll be putting in. So we plan on opening a full clinic where we'll be treating patients 100% naturally. So people can come in with an acute infectious, issue, a cold, flu, ear infection, pink eye, anything, scrape that's not healing. Come in and see us, and we'll be able to diagnose and prescribe 100% naturally. It's really, we feel like the next step. I mean, people want other alternatives to an antibiotic or a steroid, which are not the end all be all by any means in terms of health. And so I really need to get that point across to people that there's many other options that are equally and more effective and safer for your body to heal disorders quickly, safely. And so we're very
this is amazing.
It is. And
I mean, amazing.
Is this going to be the first in Twin Cities? Like, I don't know, and I'm sure there may be others out there, but this is so progressive. I just love it that we're doing this here too, and that
yes,
obviously for those listeners that are in the Twin Cities will have access to you, hopefully soon.
Yes, yes. So we're looking in the next year to move our location. We're right up the road. So if we get the building, we're looking at getting, which it looks like we can. We just have to finish getting all of our money together. It's just right up the road, like 5 blocks from where we are now. We're closer to Uptown, same side of the street. So yes, so it is such a progressive idea. It's one that is deep within my calling. Like, I'm being led to do this. It's something I know. I know the power of natural healing. I know the power that each human has to heal their body. I know the power of herbal medicine and its ability to mitigate illness. Like, it's a very intelligent medicine. I mean, yes. So there's other clinics like this, not necessarily. There's lots of functional doctors in the area who are brilliant. There's long waiting lists getting to see them, and they're very expensive. So it's not that accessible for people. We want this to be very accessible. We want you to be able to walk in. Your child has an earache, come in. And here is the homeopathic formula that will stop it in the next, 3 hours. It will be gone. And it doesn't matter what, you have a UTI come in, you have kidney stones, we can pass those kidney stones in the next 24 hours. I mean, there's anything we can do. I mean, we're not going to put you on a painkiller and tell you to go home and suffer through it,
Right.
That's amazing.
This is amazing.
And even like, I remember when I met you for the first time in the cafe with Stephanie, I mentioned this, and even looking at you now on the Zoom call, like, your skin is so beautiful. It's like glowing and like
God, really?
vibrant.
Yes.
Oh man. Oh wow. Thank you so much.
Clearly you're doing something right, Anna. I mean, yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So my husband, hold on. 70-30. 70-30. Sorry, my husband just walked in, and we are trying to get this catering order done for the Regions Hospital. So
and maybe we should talk briefly about that. Actually, there's so much to talk about. You definitely will be on our podcast again. But given that we're in the midst of this, COVID-19 pandemic here, you were sharing before we started recording a little bit about what you and your husband are doing through the cafe. So can you just share that with our listeners?
Absolutely. So our Organic Cafe has joined forces with Feed the Frontliners. So Feed the Frontliners is a charitable company that brings food to doctors and nurses across the Twin Cities who are on the front line in this epidemic. So doctors and nurses are working extraordinarily long hours. It's a pretty brutal situation for them. And so we have been hired by Feed the Frontliners to bring food to various hospitals. So today we're bringing 100 meals to Regions Hospital in a couple of hours. And tomorrow we go to the VA hospital, and it's just such a pleasure. We feel very proud to bring them food that's going to help to keep them healthy, keep them energized, and keep their immunity strong. really critical for them to be well fed at this point.
It's so
And all
amazing.
the time, all the time, really, but especially now while they're really under stress.
I hope that they
Exactly.
keep that up
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
like my
right.
husband's a doctor and I know the food that they have, you know, for the doctors in the
Yeah.
hospital. He works
It's not,
in the hospital. I won't mention which one, but
yes.
it's not healthy food that they have
No,
available to the
right.
patients or the doctors. So
Right.
the idea
Right.
that you're doing this just makes me so
It's
happy.
it's
Yeah,
wonderful. Those doctors
they,
and nurses are very lucky that they get to have your food versus
Which is amazing.
yes,
yeah, it's
yes,
truly healing food.
healing.
Like it is just,
Mhm.
it is not some put on. We are not like some fly by night, like just trying to make a buck, trying to do something trendy. This is deeply rooted in healing philosophies. And we support farmers who treat the land right, who grow their vegetables right, because that energy directly influences your energy. We give you some dead food that's been sprayed with chemicals, been not held by hands. Like there's an energy exchange that happens with food and humans, and we know
Yes.
that, and we want to provide that food to our customers.
So speaking of that, where can we find you? Where are you?
Yeah.
Are you, you know, where are you in Uptown? Where are you online?
Yeah. So we we are in Uptown Minneapolis. We're on 22nd and Hennepin. We're tucked off the street a little bit. So our address is 2200 Hennepin Avenue South, one block off of Franklin Avenue on Hennepin. And our website is taonaturalfoods.com. And we also have a catering division called Mood Food Organic Catering. And so that's a catering division that we cater to all kinds of businesses, in the Twin Cities, for people that are looking to feed their staff or their clients healing foods, foods that will keep them energized and engaged, rather than foods that will dull their senses and put them into a food coma. So it's really important that, as business owners, and if we need to keep us, our employees engaged and and productive, we feed them well.
Oh,
So.
that's awesome. And then what about social media? I know you're on Instagram.
Yeah, yep, Instagram. So we have two different Instagram sites, one Tao Natural Foods and one Tao Herbery. So both are great sources of information. And then Facebook, same thing, Tao Herbery and Tao Natural Foods on Facebook.
Okay. And we'll link this
Yeah.
all up in the
And
show
you
notes.
mentioned
Yeah.
that if people come in and they mention the Art of Living Well podcast, that you had a little offer for them.
Yes. Anybody that comes in and mentions that they heard this podcast gets 10% off of their meal in our cafe.
Awesome. Thank you so much
for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And, finally, the one question that we like to ask all of our guests on our podcast is, what does the art of living well mean to you?
Oh, this is such a fun question. The art of living well for me really means the art of your daily ritual, creating daily ritual. And that's so individual, but it's the ritual of caring for yourself. And so for me, that means taking a walk in nature, taking a walk in the woods. It means creating a healing herbal drink for myself every day and taking that moment to pause and be present. The art of living well is taking a deep breath and a long exhalation. It's also eating well. It's living with a philosophy of taking care of each other and taking care of the planet and trusting the process, what that process looks like. Not coming from a place of fear, around honoring your truths and stepping into your truths. So it's really ritual steeped for me, I guess. It's all of those elements, those self-care elements, eating right, pausing, being in nature, having your hands and feet in the soil, noticing the trees and noticing the birds and being present. Yeah.
That's
beautiful. So beautiful, Anna.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, no, thank you. This has been a wonderful, just inspiring, and really grounding conversation today. And we can't wait for our listeners to hear all of the, not just advice, but just your life experience and what's taking you on this journey.
And you are truly inspirational. So thank you so much for being on our show and for helping everybody in the, that you can in the world, and going to help all the people on the front lines today. Thank you so much for that.
For what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you for what you're doing, and you're spreading awareness. And that's what we need to do. We all need to wake up, join hands, and take care of each other and take care of the planet.
Oh, on that note, I have nothing left to say. That was a beautiful way to end this conversation.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You too.
Thanks, Anna. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, Stephanie. I have been thinking about how I have switched my products in my bathroom to safer, cleaner ingredients, because, over the last few years, I've noticed that I've had a lot of skin rashes and itchy eyes. And as I've become more and more educated about all of the chemicals in our products that we use, I've noticed that everything's kind of cleared up in my skin. And I just am so excited about this, and I want to share this with everybody else. And I want everybody to know about cleaner, safer, beauty products and personal care products.
I know. I feel exactly the same. And I think it can be intimidating and very overwhelming at first, because just like when you start reading labels of your food, some of the ingredients don't look familiar. You can't pronounce them. It's similar with beauty and personal care. And honestly, I think it's more confusing, because there are many ingredients that just we don't recognize, and doesn't necessarily mean that they're safe or not.
And also when you're buying like a high-end brand, you think that it's going to be this high quality product, and it never really crossed my mind that, wow, like they're putting all kinds of junk in these products.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big misnomer, right? Because you're paying for the brand, you're paying a lot of money, you're paying for the packaging, and you assume it's safe. But unfortunately, no one in the U.S. is regulating what ingredients companies put into these products. So Marnie and I are offering this great online workshop coming up on April 22nd. It'll run from 9:15 a.m. Central Time, but it'll all be virtual. You'll get all the materials and recording after, so no worries if you can't make it.
So from 9 to 10:15 Central Time.
Yes, and you can sign up on our website, which is just www.theartoflivingwell.us/programs. And we're going to dive into this in way more detail, and it'll be interactive. So if you have some products that you're wondering if are they safe, are they not, and maybe also, Marnie, you can talk about like what we're going to do in the workshop. Bring those products with you virtually, and you can show them if you can make it to the live version.
And we're going to talk about reading ingredient labels and how do you sift through that information. And we're going to talk about the effects some of these chemicals have on our bodies. And also, Stephanie and I recorded a wonderful episode on our podcast, episode 21, that's all about clean beauty and personal care products. And if you want to go listen to that as a little precursor to the workshop, that would be great.
Yeah. So we hope you can join us. Message us if you have any questions, and just head on over to our website to sign up.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art of Living Well podcast. We are so grateful that you joined us today.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or anyone else you think may benefit from this information. We'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and tag the Art of Living Well podcast on social media.
If you want more inspiration in between episodes, you can find us on social media at theartofliving_well on Instagram and Facebook, where we will share snippets from our daily lives and our journey to living well.